Sadiq Khan, the London mayor, has said that some cannabis possession should be decriminalised. I'm going to read into this more from Sky News, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from Sky News with a headline that Sadiq Khan said some cannabis possession should be decriminalised. Cannabis is a Class B drug, and people found in possession can face a fine or imprisonment. Guys, while you're here, hit that like button and share us across social media so others are notified of this video. So this is so it's been a while since I've done a video in relation to drugs in particular and drug issues, because one of my key positions has always been about drugs is that it's always better to have it in the hands of the healthcare system, in the hands of pharmacies, rather than in allowing it to be on the black market. Now, do drugs cause harm? Yes, of course they do. These drugs do cause harm. However, it can also make a difference to people's lives, and it can also help people in certain ways as well. Some people rely on certain of these drugs, and in some countries and places, and in certain states in the US, where there's some which are perfectly legal and then some which are illegal. We have a lot of drugs in the majority of the cannabis, heroin, and whatnot are essentially like classed as dangerous and whatnot. And if you're caught with possession of them, as it says there, fine or imprisonment. Now, I personally think that these drugs some of these drugs should not in any way, shape or form be on the black market, shouldn't be illegal. I think they should all be decriminalized. I think it should all be something that if people need, and they should prescribe for it. And the other thing is that what you do is you kill the black market, where none of that money off the black market, where these drug dealings and whatnot take place, none of that money benefits the economy. None of that benefits the people, because those drugs could go to people who are addicted to them, when it actually doesn't actually help them. And there are some circumstances where there are people who might actually, where some of these drugs will actually help them, but they can't get their hands on them because obviously if they do, it'll be considered breaking the law. But if it's done in a controlled environment, such as i.e. drugs that we already have in our healthcare system, within our pharmacies, that's a different matter. So that's kind of my position when it comes to this. And I do agree with the London mayor, obviously, on this, that cannabis possession should be decriminalised. I don't say some, I say all. But I know some people have different experiences when it comes to drugs. And of course, I have to make my position very clear for people. No, I've never taken drugs. No, I've not even smoked weed. So it's easy for me to say when I'm someone who's never done drugs. But obviously, if you are somebody who has taken drugs or gone through rehabilitation and whatnot, let me know how your feelings about this, about drugs and that down in the comments below, and what kind of laws and changes that you would like to personally see here in England in particular. So the London Mayor Sadiq Khan has backed calls for the possession of small quantities of natural cannabis to be decriminalised. Okay. So Sir Sadiq said in a new report published by the Independent London Drug Commission, the LDC, today, provides a compelling evidence-based case for the government to consider a move. So under current laws, cannabis is a Class B drug, and people found in possession face a fine or imprisonment. The LDC, set up by the Mayor in 2022 and chaired by the former Lord Chancellor, Lord Charlie Falconer, said that the current laws on cannabis are disproportionate to the harms it can pose. Its studies examine how the drug is policed around the world. It also found cannabis policing continues to focus on particular ethnic communities, damaging their relations with law enforcement. The Commission stopped short of calling for full decriminalisation, which is my position, and instead says natural cannabis should be moved from the Misuse of Drugs Act to a Psychoactive Sustainable Act here. This would effectively legalise the possession of small amounts of personal use while continuing to prohibit importing, manufacturing or distributing the drugs. The LDC has also called for improved addiction services and better education on the dangers of cannabis for young people. And I think we all can agree with this. We always want more improvements to discourage people from turning to these drugs. But we also know that in a lot of hard and deprived areas, and I also it's much more harder for them to get off the drugs. And I also want to make this point as well, because there's something actually. There's also drugs that are also tied into homelessness as well, in a way as well, because one thing I know that people always tie drugs to homelessness people. Whenever some people don't want to give money to the homeless person or whatnot, their position is, they're just going to go and spend it on drugs. And there are cases where some homeless people do end up going spending it on drugs. But you want to know why some of those people spend them on drugs. And it's not every case. Like I said, every person's situation is different. Some of them do it in order to cope, to stay sane, to keep themselves going, because they have absolutely nothing, and the drugs that they can get their hands on helps keep them going. I'm not saying it's right, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but that is the case in some people's situation, because it's easy to say, they're just wasting their time buying drugs, wasting their life away. And it's like, to me, it's like, well, I'm not in their shoes. You're not in their shoes. How would you know what that person's been through? And I always try to understand why people are in the situation that they're in. So I just wanted to put that out there with regards to when it comes to criticising homeless people, when it comes to why they keep going after crack or whatever it is that they need. So Sir Sadiq says it's been a long plea that we need fresh thinking on how to reduce the substantial harms associated with drug-related crimes in our community. The LDC has also called for improved addiction service and better education on the dangers of cannabis for young people. The report makes a compelling evidence-based case for the decriminalisation of possession of small quantities of natural cannabis, which the government should consider, he added. It says the current sentencing for those caught in possession of natural cannabis cannot be justified given its relative harm and people's experience of the justice system. And this is where you can also tie this into the situation with regards to the prison service as well, because we have a situation, as some of you may be aware of, where our prison systems are currently overcrowded and overloaded and near full capacity. So rather than these people who are caught in possession or have been drug dealers and whatnot, instead of putting them in prison, which in my opinion is not the solution, put them on community service, make them do lots and lots of community service, and that way it frees up more space in the prison service as well on these. But I would say it depends. But I would say it should only be a case that they should go in jail unless their drugs have directly caused harm, have been found evidence-based where this person is definitely a drug dealer and has been doing it for a long time and has caused harm to other people, or even worse, their drugs that they have distributed to certain people that has effectively ended their lives or destroyed their lives. Then it should be considered something a bit more different, where that person should actually go spend time in prison. But I don't think possession should warrant prison time, in my opinion. But again, we can agree to disagree in the comments below. We must recognise that better education, improved healthcare, and more effective, equitable policing of cannabis use are long overdue. So Lord Falconer says legalisation is not the answer. I disagree. I think legalisation is the answer. The criminal justice system response needs to focus only on the dealers and not the users. You can't deal, as long as it's illegal, there will always be dealers. Those who suffer from adverse effects of cannabis, which may be a small percentage of users, but it's a high number of people, need reliable, consistent medical and other support, and there needs to be much more education on the risk of cannabis use. Home Office spokesperson said the government has no intention to reclassify cannabis from the Class B substance. It will continue to work with partners across health, policing and wider public service to drive down drug use, ensure more people receive relatively timely support, treatment and support, and make our streets community safer, they added. The Conservatives have rubbished Sadiq's suggestion, with Shadow Home Secretary Chris Twat Phillips, saying that cannabis is associated with antisocial behaviour and heavy use that can lead to serious psychosis and severe mental health problems. US and Canadian cities which tried this approach have ended up as criminal-ridden geckos with stupefied addicts on the streets and law-abiding citizens frightened to go there. Now, I think it's ridiculous to make a comparison to US and Canadian cities. There's a huge amount of factors that are differentiating from us to the United States and Canada, so I don't think that's a fair comparison in any way, shape, or form. I really don't, especially especially in the US, when a lot of those people who are in those situations, they can't even get the healthcare they need, because guess what? It costs them money to get healthcare in the United States. So I don't think that's a fair comparison there, just on that alone. But that is my position on drugs overall. I don't think. I do think they're more. I do think there needs to, this does need to be looked at, and it does need to be talked about. Yes, of course, it's all well and good saying we need more rehabilitation. We need more to make sure to help people get them off the drugs. But I also think about the one thing we always talk about, we don't talk enough about, is prevention. How do we prevent people from getting hooked onto drugs in the first place? That is the thing here, because we're already talking about the damage that has always been done to a person and how can we reverse that damage. How do we stop a person becoming addicted to those drugs in the first place? What are we doing to ensure that that this person or that person does not end up needing those drugs or having those drugs? What are we doing to ensure we keep people away from those drugs? Stopping them getting addicted and stopping them having these drugs should be the priority. Prevention should be the priority. Yes, rehabilitation is important, but we want to prevent more than anything with regards to these. But let me know what you guys honestly think about this. What do you guys think about cannabis? What do you guys think about any drugs in relation to here in the UK and how it compares to other countries? So everybody has different opinions on this, and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. So let me know down in the comment section below. Now, if you found this video interesting and informative or in any way, shape or form, hit that like button, be greatly appreciated. Share this across social media. Subscribe if you haven't already. Check out Rumble and Patreon for exclusive content. And if you want to financially support me, you can click the join button down below to become a YouTube member for as little as 99p. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.